In a world where legends rise and fall with every punch, where the roar of the crowd fades, but the stories live on. This is where those stories are told. This is Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From the blood, the sweat, and the glory, to the controversies, comebacks, and knockouts, we go behind the ring, no fluff, no hype, and definitely no BS. Just the truth behind the fight game. And we've been doing it for over 2 decades. A podcast pioneer, now a Hall of Famer.
Great. What's that ego gonna be like?
And next, the comeback kid.
Wait, isn't he like 90 or something?
Shut up, he'll hear you. The reigning, defending, undisputed, heavyweight champion of boxing broadcasting. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. And it's on now.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studios, from the Billy C studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show, she's being brought to you in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest. Man, what's going on? Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to the Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can get a copy of this book right now where you're watching or listening to this very show. Just visit Amazon. Hey, you can check out BillyCBoxing.com too, and let me know if the special's still going on. If not, I'll see what I could do with the publisher. Also, today's show is being brought to us in part by Classic Boats. Hey, listen, if you're looking for either a custom-built boat, or you have a classic boat that you need restored, or you're just looking for a classic boat, high-end luxury boats, check out classicboats.co. And by the way, for all my listeners over in Europe, check it out. We got a whole line over there as well. We got a busy show scheduled for you today, as usual. Give a shout out to everybody in the chat room. My man, Travis, the What's Next kid. This kid is, listen, I'm waiting for him to fight again. I think he's healing up from an injury, but great kid. And, today we're going to be talking about I'm going to be talking about the young middleweights today. And Travis is going to be one of those guys we'll be talking about hopefully in the future when he decides, when and if he decides to turn pro. But anyway, I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on Moses Itauma and what I think of Moses Itauma. I mean, at this point, going into this fight, I mean, a lot of people have put this kid in the Hall of Fame already. I mean, I was watching the shows from last weekend, boxing events, and Itauma this, Itauma that. Oh, I have some opinions on that. I'm going to be talking about. He's not ready for the Hall of Fame yet. Okay, come on. I'm going to break down and predict his fight along with the other middleweight championship. Junior middleweight championship going on with Sebastian Fundora and Keith. One time he fights one time in 5 years. That's Keith. I fight one time in 5 years. Thurman. I'll be talking about that one as well. We got some boxing news and rumors. And like I said, I'm going to break down the middleweight. And speaking of middleweights, this week's scheduled guest is one of these young undefeated middleweights coming up. He's the NABF Middleweight Champion, Frank the Tank Hogan, will be joining us a little bit later. But first, let's talk about some of the fights that took place this past weekend. First and foremost, the Middleweight World Championship in the WBC. For the WBC, Carlos Adames. Fought Austin Williams. I loved the fight. It was an entertaining fight. I really, I picked Adames to win the fight, and he won. He won convincingly. I mean, listen, hats off to Austin Williams. I'll be talking about him a little bit later as well. I mean, he hung in there. He did go down once during the fight. Carlos just took it to him. in this fight. And, I don't know if Williams thought he would tire towards the end of the fight or whatever, but he seemed pretty fresh all the way till the end from start to finish. He was kind of slick. And even though it was an entertaining fight, it seemed like Adames kind of schooled Williams a little bit. But Williams failed to make any adjustments to get in there. But in any event, Carlos takes the win. I told you guys that his last fight, which was a little over a year ago against Shiraz, was a bad decision. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Shiraz. I have a lot of faith in him as he develops. But he didn't beat Carlos Adames, and Adames kind of looked better against Williams this past Saturday. 118, 111, and 117, 109 twice with the way the judges scored it. Adames is now 25 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, and 18 of his wins coming by knockout. Williams, he's not going anywhere. He'll be back. He drops to 20 wins, 2 losses with 13 of his wins coming by knockout. Another fighter I just want to mention, he's a heavyweight. Terramona, he only fought 1 round and knocked out Curtis Harper when he did right at the end of the first round, 2 minutes and 59 seconds. He just went down like a tree. Curtis Harper did, and Harper's a definition of I call him kind of, listen, not by his conditioning or anything like that, or even his skill level, but he was kind of a throwback fighter in the sense that he does this for a living. This is how he makes money. They mentioned on the broadcast he's got to fight to support his 5 kids. So and that's the way it used to be back when boxing was actually a trade. Harper loses for the 13th time in his career. He's now 19 wins, 13 losses, with 13 of his wins coming by knockout. And Terramona, he improves to 10-0, all coming by knockout. Big guy from Australia, another one of these heavyweights to keep an eye on. On another card, there was a listen, you guys know, anybody that's been watching or listening to this show for any length of time, you guys know how much I love the UK boxing scene. But I just want to say, it's doing as good as ever. And they had some great fights out of England this past weekend. And by the way, I think all these fights, because the Adames fight was competitive, this fight was competitive. I'm going to talk about another couple of fights, all very competitive. And as I was watching all the fights, I said, you know what? This sudden change with competitive fights by coming at us usually from promoters that really don't make their fights too competitive. I think it's the Dana White effect. I mean, now fighters, you know what? You got to be competitive. These promoters are saying you got to fight, which is good. But anyway, the fight I'm talking about, George Lidar took on Tyler Denny, put his British and Commonwealth titles on the line. It was a pretty cool fight. There was all kinds of drama. There was some power shots. There was some boxing. There was some drops. There was fighters getting hurt. I mean, we saw it all. But at the end, George Lidard improved to 14-0 with 8 knockouts. And Denny, who was the former European champ, he drops to 21 wins, 4 losses, and 3 of his wins coming by knockout. The way the judges saw that after 12 rounds, all 3 saw it 116, 112. The co-main on that card was, and this is a middleweight, so keep that in mind. The co-main on that card was also a middleweight fight. 2 young fighters fighting each other. Giorgio Vasali. This kid Vasali, listen, keep an eye on him. I loved watching this kid fight. He was a beast. 11-0 now with 6 knockouts. Levi Giles took him to the distance, but Vasily retained his English lightweight title, 99-90 twice and 100-89. on some undercard. They had a kid, Jimmy Sains, all middleweights. He improved to 12-0 when he beat Derek Oze by a majority decision. Real close fight. I'm not so sure the right man won on this one. One judge had it 95-95, while the other two saw it 96-94, and one had it 97-93 in favor of Sains. Yes, he was the hometown guy, but in no way, shape, or form, in my opinion anyway, was that 97-93 score justified at all. And in a pretty exciting fight that opened the card, Lili Buttigieg improved to 12-0 with 4 of his wins coming by knockout when he knocked out Jake Goodwin in the 9th round of their fight, their middleweight fight. 8 wins, 3 losses, and a draw now for Goodwin. And like I said, Buttigieg improved to 12-0 with 4 knockouts. The drama in this card was that Buttigieg was behind on all the scorecards going into that 9th round, and basically crushed Goodwin at 2 minutes and 4 seconds of the 9th round to get the win. In a fight that I gotta mention, because it was so, it meant something to me because it was one of Jimmy Birchfield's Classic Entertainment and Sports, CES Boxing's fighters, and some guys that I know that in this business for a long time, like the Capiellos. They were all there. Jimmy was there, and Kevin Walsh went into enemy territory, Ireland, to fight the Irish fighter Mick Conlan. He was an Olympian. It was in his hometown, Belfast, Northern Ireland. It was a real crazy fight to watch, to be honest with you. There was a lot of funky movement. There were some solid shots landed. It just seemed that both fighters fought pretty cautiously. As a matter of fact, when Conlan switched to southpaw, he was giving Kevin all kinds of trouble. But at the end of the fight, the way the judges scored it was one judge had it kind of lopsided for Conlan at 97-93, where the other two judges scored it a lot closer, 96-94 for Walsh, giving him the win. He remains undefeated at 20-0, and he picked up an international title. This is in the featherweight division. Conlan dropped to 20-4, and after the fight, he said, it's over. He ain't fighting no more. He ain't playing that game no more. So we'll see what happens with him. And here's the thing. People ask me about Zuffa Boxing, what I think of it. And I just told you about, 3 fight cards. Incidentally, I was 3 for 3 with these picks. I picked Walsh. I went with my heart in the fight, and he won. But the truth of the matter is that all these fights were competitive. And more important, there were a lot of middleweights fighting in this over the weekend. And it caused me to really dissect the middleweight division. And, I feel good about it. I feel good about the middleweight division. You know why? Because there's a lot of younger middleweights that you may not have heard of yet that are fighting each other. And what I'm seeing are fighters that are improving, fighters that are fighting each other, fighters that are aggressive, fan-friendly fighters, which I think is going to go a long way. Here's my example, and no disrespect to White Magic Malicki Jr. He's a fighter. He's fought in the New Jersey circuit, and he's fighting this weekend in Atlantic City in his hometown. And Vito is got a record of 22 wins, 1 loss, and 13 of his wins coming by knockout. He's taken on undefeated Omar Huyata. I believe that's how you pronounce it, who's undefeated at 15 wins, no losses, 1 draw, and he too has 13 knockouts. Here's my point, boys and girls. If you dissect this fight, and you take a look, Maliki happens to be ranked number 5 by the WBO, number 9 by the IBF, and number 10 by the WBC. The computer sees him at number 13, and you know how good I always feel real good about how the IBO's computer ranks their computers, not their computers, but computer fighters with their computer in general. And I like the IBO Top 100. I think it's the most accurate, and they have Maliki at number 12 in the world. So Maliki is one of these young middleweights that we need to keep an eye on. Here's my problem with this fight, and here's my problem with what we've been kind of forced to accept. Now, here I just talked about, and I'm going to bring it up again in a second here. I just talked about 3 or 4 middleweight contests that were really exciting, and they featured young middleweights going against each other, both with similar records, similar talent, and they made really good fights. And I got news for you. The fighters that did not come out with the W's are not going to lose their value, because there's going to be another one that's going to fight, and they're going to win, and they're going to keep rising. That's how boxing needs to work, not like this. When you look at this guy that he's fighting, Maliki, again, no disrespect to Maliki, this guy who's fighting is 15-0. I say this guy because I've never heard of him. And of his 16 pro fights, 15-0-1, 13 knockouts. Oh, he's a power puncher. 16 pro fights, boys and girls. Three, count them, 1, 2, 3 of his opponents of 16 fights had winning records. And 2 of those 3 had a 1-0 record. I mean, 1-0 is winning, right? But it's one fight. And not only that, the third, his winning record, 9 wins, 8 losses, and a draw. There's not one known familiar name, even if they had a relative who fought, is on his resume at all. How does the computer see him? At number 175. Now I ask you this. Why would a guy like Vito Maliki Jr., who's ranked in the sanctioning bodies that I said, who's in the top 12, as high as the top 12 in the IBO 100, why would he take on such a less than stellar opponent that isn't going to challenge him or make him any better? And when these other fighters I was talking about they did challenge themselves, and they both looked good, even though one won and one lost. Now, when I take a look at the middleweight division right now, remember something. The 2 most glorious divisions in boxing are the heavyweight division traditionally. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great fighters in other divisions. I happen to like a lot of other divisions in addition to the 2 I'm going to mention. But the 2 glamour divisions that, throughout, the last century has been the heavyweight division and the middleweight division. And we've seen a lot of great all-time greats from both of these weight classes. When I look at some of these young up-and-coming middleweights, I get excited. Now, I'm going to put Maliki in that category because he's clearly a guy to keep an eye on. But the ones that don't seem to be afraid of losing their O, and in my opinion, will become the future of the middleweight division, especially the way boxing seems to be leaning right now. George Liddard, which was a guy that fought this past weekend, this kid, Giorgio Vasoli, what an action-packed, exciting fighter. Remember the name. You're going to see him again. Callum Walsh, you've seen him fight. He's fought on some of the bigger shows now, and he's a middleweight coming up. He's young, and of course the guy who we're having on tonight, Frank the Tank Hogan. So I mean, that's just naming a handful. Then when you take a look at I'm going to call them the ranked middleweight sanctioned fighters. In other words, the sanctioning body ranks their own. So there's a whole bunch of them. There's 4 major sanctioning bodies, but some of the contenders, I mean, Yoinli Hernandez is, he's a top fighter. Everybody knows that he's a top fighter. He's ranked in the Ring and ESPN and all the places that matter. In addition to most of the sanctioning bodies, you still got former champion Tim Tszyu, Amari Jones, Brad Pauls, Chris Eubank Jr., Aaron McKenna, Troy Isley, Connor Benn, and I'm going to say Austin Williams. I mean, these are all contenders that are good. And then if you take a look at the current champs like Carlos Adames or Slandy Lara, and I'm going to murder this cat's name, Yanibek Alumkohuli. We don't know what's going on with him, but those are some decent champs. And then here's the other thing. If you take a look at the top champions in the junior middleweight division, and you got Sebastian Fundora, who's fighting this weekend. There's no reason he's not going to be able to move up to middleweight. Don't be surprised if you see Xander Zayas and Boots Ennis. I mean, Boots Ennis is a big guy. He's a couple of cheeseburgers away from the middleweight division, easy. And then you got Virgil Ortiz. So when I take a look, at the middleweights and junior middleweights, and then I look at the young middleweights, I see a lot of promise coming our way at the middleweight division. And I'm excited about it because, if we can get some really good middleweights fighting each other, they're big. They're you see the knockouts. They usually are very skillful, across the board. And to have these guys, fight each other, that's the way it is. My man Orlando is in there. I can't wait to see you again in June. He's saying Zayas and Boots is a good fight. It's a fantastic fight. My point is they're going to have that fight at the junior middleweight division. Hopefully they make it. I know that there was a rumor that they were trying to, but my point is both of those fighters at any given time, and potentially Boots in his first because he's a big guy, could move up to the middleweight. I'm just excited about the middleweight division. No knock on the other divisions because we got a lot of good young talent coming up. And again, I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record, and this is becoming a hot topic. And it's almost as dangerous to talk about this topic as it is to talk about politics these days. But these are some of the reasons why I'm leaning towards the success, and I believe it will have the success. And that's Zuffa Boxing and Dana White. Balloons fall. That's every time I mention Zuffa. But I think that there's a trend. Dana White has made it very clear that he's only going to put on competitive fights, and so far he has. The only thing you could make an argument for is you may not know every one of the fighters, but rest assured, they've been competitive fights, and like I said. When Riyadh season, when Turkey Al-Rashid was introducing all these fighters, next thing you know, you're starting to see them all the shows. These are the guys that are going to be in Zuffa Boxing, and we're going to get to see them a lot. That's something that boxing needs. We need to see fighters more. The norm of fighting, 3 times a year, and you're winning Fighter of the Year award. Those days are hurting the sport as well. How do you develop a fan base? And as a fan, how do you stay following a fighter that only fights a couple of times a year? If you have a fighter that's fighting, at least 5 times a year, or God, should I even say 6, 7 times a year? If you got somebody fighting that much, and they're fighting what I call climbing the ladder type fights, that means every fight's going to be, entertaining, and every fight's going to have something on the line. And, a fighter that loses a close fight does not lose value. I'm sorry. That whole misconception was created because of the success of one fighter. and everybody else started following suit. And the worst part about that is the fact that the promoters, they adopted it too. By we don't want our fighter to lose, and that was my point with the Malicki Jr. fight that's scheduled to go on. He's a good fighter. He's ranked. He's there. I just think that it was a mistake, in my opinion. Yes, he's going to look great, but if a true fan really looks and reads between the lines, the kid isn't getting challenged. And when he fights one of these other guys that I'm talking about, he's going to get challenged. Middleweight division's looking good. A lot of young fighters. I'm excited. Some news. Let's talk about some news. Who do I say that I think the the heavyweights need to fight? Who's the heavyweight I think that Usyk needs to fight? I've said it all along. KBL is the best heavyweight that isn't named Usyk, and he deserves a shot. I was really upset when Usyk is taking on Rico, and they're trying to build that as a competitive fight. But he made a comment. It was released that he said that after he fights Rico, that his intention was to fight the winner of Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois, and then fighting the third fight with Tyson Fury. And nowhere did he say anything about taking on Ajit Kabiel. And Kabiel is, in my opinion, the best heavyweight out there. He deserves a shot. He was thrown in there with fighters that, many people didn't think he was going to win. And not only did he win, he knocked them out. And I want to see it. I want to see him fight Usyk. There's something about this kid. I really like this kid, KBL. He looks like a heavyweight that shouldn't be that good. I mean, he doesn't come in. He's not chiseled. He doesn't come in there looking, nice and buff. He comes in there looking like a fighter. He's in good shape. He doesn't get tired. He's been down, gets right back up. And he's a powerful puncher. He's not huge compared to the heavyweights today. He works the body and he wins. He wins. He deserves a shot. I think to tell you the truth, I think he beats Usyk. I think Usyk could put on a clinic in terms of his boxing ability, but there's something about this KBL guy that he seems to, all the odds, everything that's supposed to happen when you fight this guy, he makes not happen. I don't know. He's the boogeyman. But in any event, Usyk kind of backtracked. He says backtracked and said, "Yeah, maybe I'll fight him. My plans aren't set in stone." And then he went on and he said, "I must live my life. I must look after my team and my children. As for fighting, I just work hard, and my opponents work hard." He says, "Look, maybe it's possible I fight Ajit. All I could say is he's a great fighter and he's very smart." I'm sorry to say, but look at this. If he fights KBL, he's fighting a guy that he hasn't seen before. If we really take a look, and I'm not trying to be critical of Usyk because I think he's a generational fighter. The thing about him is that he's already fought Tyson Fury twice. He fought Anthony Joshua twice. He fought Daniel Dubois twice. If Daniel Dubois beats Fabio Wardley, he would potentially be fighting Daniel Dubois 3 times. I kind of want to see him fight somebody else. And Fabio Wardley, I love Fabio Wardley. I rooted for him, but he's not as great as everybody's making it seem. If he beats Daniel Dubois, I'll change my tune. But I don't see it happening. I see him being in the mix for a while, but I don't see him beating Dubois. But then again, it depends which Dubois comes on in the fight. If it's the Daniel Dubois who destroyed Anthony Joshua, or if it's the Daniel Dubois that gets hit on his chinny chin and takes a nap. I'm going to be talking about Moses Itauma a little bit later when we break down his fight and give you my thoughts on him. What I think, and we'll see what you think on that. It's official. It's official. The IBF stripped Jay Apatea. I was disappointed with this. First and foremost, every champion, every sanctioning body lets fighters do what they call a mandatory defense. A voluntary defense of the title. They do have to fight mandatories, and where they bend those mandatory, next guy in line mandatory rule is when it's unification against apparently only the 4 sanctioning bodies. Now, when you read between the lines, it sounds like the IBF was waiting for Zuffa to recognize their title too, and Zuffa wouldn't. At the end of the day, the IBF has stripped Jay Apatea of his belt, and now he's the best cruiserweight in the world with the Zuffa belt, and that's it. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because we all know that the way boxing goes, if you follow the money, that's the way boxing goes. It follows the money. And, if let's say Turkey Al-Rashid says, hey, we want Jay Apatea to fight whatever, let's say Noel McKillian, he's got a title, he's got the WBC title, and the WBC says to McKillian, if you fight Jay Apatea for the Zuffa title, we're going to strip you of your belt. And Turkey Al-Rashid says, here, I'm going to add another 0 on the end of your paycheck. Do you think Noel McKillian is going to say, yeah, well, I don't want to risk, being stripped of the WBC belt. So, yeah, I'm going to turn down life-changing money and an opportunity to fight Jay Apatea to keep that green belt. I don't think so. I could be wrong. And I think that the IBF's move here was 110% a power play. And, I think that it's just shame that they did this, because now the boxing world, give a shout out to my man, Randy, who's in the chat room right now, Randy Gordon. I had the pleasure of being a guest on him and Jerry Cooney's show the other day. So hopefully you guys caught that, and you could check it out at the fights on Sirius. I know it's up on their app. The IBF is making a stand. They're drawing a line in the sand here. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, because if they're successful, this is what we're going to see. I don't think they're going to be successful. I think that at the end of the day, it's called prize fighting for a reason, and fighters, rightfully so, go to where the money is, and they'll go to where they can make the most money. And the titles themselves, used to generate a fighter more money, right? That's that was the whole selling point. The whole selling point that the sanctioning bodies would tell fans and promoters and what have you, that by fighting for a belt, any belt, is worth more than not fighting for a belt. And for the longest time, that smokescreen, and that's my opinion, was shoved at us, and in some cases it was very believable, and over time everybody believed. Now we're starting to see, whoa, wait a minute, hold on. We got these good fighters that aren't even looking to fight for that Ichiachi East Global Asian Pacific US Canadian belt, and they don't want to fight for that. They're going to go and fight another guy that, oh my goodness, has a similar record. And how much are they making? That's what's going to happen. And if that happens, we're going to end up with fighters making the most money that they can. We're going to end up as fans watching the best fights. But the most important thing for old boxing purists like myself, the best thing is that you're going to see the best fighters rise to the top. so that the top fighters are the champions. There's no argument if a fighter has to fight everybody along the way and he's the king of the hill, he becomes the champion. There's no question. There's no, my belt's worth more than your belt. I'm a better fighter than you. There's no more of that. And I think that that's good for the sport. And it will be good for the fighters. Now, this is all contingent upon them making money, because the knock on what's coming out now is you're hearing a lot of stuff from the UFC fighters saying, "Whoa, we don't make any money. We're not making the money. We're not doing this. We're not doing that." So it's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds. Now, keep in mind, I don't know if you guys caught that, but it was announced that they passed. So they're going, this whole modification of the Ali Act is now, I guess, ready to be voted on for the final time, or it's going to be signed off on. It's pretty close. So you got to keep your eyes open for that. Some more news. I don't know if you caught this, but Golden Boy re-signed a multi-year partnership with DAZN. So now DAZN pretty much has all of the promoters. Listen, not that I'm a spokesperson, I keep telling you that, but DAZN's the place to be for fights. I mean, it really is. I bit the bullet. I rolled the dice. I went with their whatever platinum, the $50 a month or whatever, and I don't regret it one bit. I was saying on to Randy Gordon and Jerry Cooney the other day on their show, I said, I love watching fights starting at 11, 12 o'clock on a Saturday, and watch them into the wee hours of the night. For me, that's 8, 9 o'clock at night. And then these fights that take place here, in the States, they're hard for me to watch. The main event doesn't come on till midnight. But anyway, I was glad to see that Golden Boy and DAZN finally put their names on the paper. So Golden Boy joins the rest of the promoters except for Zuffa Boxing. And I still believe that Zuffa Boxing will end up on DAZN too. I mean, DAZN is just a network, they don't have to sign any deals with they call them exclusive, but that's exclusive to what? It's exclusive. Queensberry's got an exclusive. Matchroom's got an exclusive. Golden Boy's got an exclusive. I've seen other promoters on that network. So it just means that they extended a contract for X amount of time, because they never did mention how long that extension was for. Shakur Stevenson, a lot of people have been saying how great he was. And I told you guys, my man Larry Hazard, he's a boxing Hall of Famer. He's a commissioner in New Jersey. He was a great referee, a judge. He did it all. He was part of the show for a while. And I remember him. I got to dig up the episode. I've been finding all these interviews. I got a couple of great interviews with Ernie Shavers I'm going to be posting soon. But I started going back and checking these out. But anyway, Shakur Stevenson, Larry Hazard said on my show, "Hey, this is this kid. He's in the amateurs now. Just remember his name. He's going to be a world champion someday." He says his name is Shakur Stevenson. He said this on this show years ago. And now Shakur Stevenson is one of the best fighters in the sport. In my opinion, I was very skeptical, because to me, he showed defensive skill and showed offensive skill when he needed it, squeaked out wins. He wasn't an exciting fighter, all those things. And I wasn't really convinced until his last fight when he fought Teofimo Lopez. And so many people were thinking that Lopez was going to beat him. I thought Shakur Stevenson fought the perfect fight. He was defensive. He was offensive. He went in for the attack. And I believe, in my opinion, it was the best performance of his professional career. And I think he put it all together. And that performance, I believe, catapulted him in a sense to being separate than the other fighters. He's that much better. And I contribute a lot of that to Terrence Crawford. He teamed up with Terrence Crawford, and that mean streak that Terrence had he probably still has, possesses, the way he could flip that switch and be so aggressive in a fight is unique. It's innate. It's something that fighters either have or they don't have. And Shakur Stevenson looked like, he's trying to get it, and with that said, there was a lot of rumor that he was going there was some other fighters that that were saying that he was going to, specifically Keyshawn Davis, and he said, "No way." He said, "I'm not fighting." I'm sorry. That's the Devin Haney. Shakur Stevenson was saying that his toughest fight is behind him. Doink. His toughest fight is behind him. And believe it or not, I thought he was going to say Teofimo Lopez and all this. He said Zapata. Zapata was the toughest fight. He said that you'll never see a close fight like that again with him because he thinks that he's that much better. Now, the thing I was jumping the gun on, Devin Haney was critical online. You know how everybody talks online, and he was saying that the Keyshawn Davis was saying that he was going to be fighting Devin Haney or was negotiating. And Devin Haney said, "Yeah, that's BS. I'm not." And he said, "My next opponent is going to be Raleigh Romero." And he says, "So hey, to you, Keyshawn Davis, you're full of what. I'm going for a unification fight." Then it comes out today that after Devin Haney says that. It's going to be uncertain if the WBA allows Raleigh Romero to fight Devin Haney because he's got a mandatory, and his mandatory, Shakram Gaziov, has been waiting for years for this. He's been their interim or regular champion for years, and he made some noise, and now it seems like it may happen. They may force it. So keep your eyes on that. Now, what could happen is, Raleigh Romero could let him take the belt and go and fight Devin Haney for some money and Haney's belt. That could happen. Listen, the whole Devin Haney thing, in my opinion, he's a guy that I don't know. I personally don't think he could draw flies to a garbage can. I really don't. He's a boring fighter. He's not a likable guy at all, and his father makes it worse. I know Oscar De La Hoya was talking about the potential of or pushing to have Devin Haney fight Ryan Garcia again. I believe Ryan Garcia should fight Shakur Stevenson, but that's another story. Devin Haney's trying to get something because of Ryan's injury, and now it looks like that didn't work out for the poor kid either. We got Dalton Smith is going to be taking on Alberto Pielo pretty in June. That fight was being talked about for a while, and it was just made. But today we were talking about middleweights, and I told you we got an undefeated up and coming middleweight who's defending. He's the current NABF middleweight champion. He's defending that title this weekend, taking some time off from training. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, joining us right now is Francis Hogan. Frank the Tank Hogan joins us. What's up, brother? Can you hear me?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, okay.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
But how you doing? Yeah, I can hear you good now, man. Thanks for joining us. I know you're getting ready. You're at the end of your training camp. You're fighting Saturday.
Yeah.
So how's that going? You ready for the fight?
Yeah, I'm ready for the fight.
Saturday.
Ready? Oh yeah, I'm always ready.
Hey, listen, as I'm looking through you and your career in 2024, you fought two guys that were supposed to let you go rounds, and you blew them both out. I'm talking about in September of 24, you blew out Rondon in one round, And Elvin Ayala, who was supposed to give you rounds for that fight, you took care of him in 2. Have you since then? Do you look for the knockout, or did they just come?
No, I think they just come. I just get in there, I do my thing, I stick to the game plan of what my trainers tell me. They always tell me I listen pretty well. So I listen to my corner and I stick to the game plan from the training camp, and I go in there and try to execute it. But if the knockout comes, the knockout comes. I don't try to look for it, because that's usually when a fighter gets clipped and hurt, or the tables reverse, so I don't want to have that happen to me.
No. Hey, listen, it's this weekend. You're fighting a tough veteran who's basically seen it all. Alate is what I would call a true definition of a gatekeeper of sorts, because he's durable. He comes to fight. He's been in there with all the top guys. Do you think a win over Alate this weekend will open up some doors for you? And do you feel you have to stop him?
So it depends. It all depends on the first round, really. I would like to get him out of there personally, but I do have a game plan, and I'm gonna stick to it with what I train for in training camp. I know he's tough. I know he's durable. A lot of guys say he comes forward. I don't know. I've watched his fights. I think he kind of lets the other fighter dictate the pace and dictate what's gonna go on. He has one. Like motion throughout the whole fight. He never steps it up. He never turns up the gas or anything that I noticed. He's nothing crazy. He's just tough, and he is durable. He's got some good boxing skills. He's keeps his hands up, tight defense. But I do think I will catch him, and I do think I will get him out of there.
Well, he's cagey. I will tell you that. I know that. Most of your fights has been basically in front of your home fan base. Now,
Yep.
Do you think that this helps you, or do you think it puts more pressure on you to perform well in front of them?
If I was being honest, I'd say it makes me feel like I have more pressure on me all the way
Yeah.
up till we get to like walkout. And then once I'm about to walk out, I mean, then I kind of just forget about the crowd and the fans, like they can't get in there and fight for me. So it's all on me then.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you answered that honestly, because a lot of fighters they don't admit it, but it's true. I mean, it's like if you're doing something in front of a sibling, you always want to do it as best you can, and when you have all this support that's been following you for all these years, I could imagine that it's added weight on your shoulders. So that's cool that you're able to balance that. I've seen you live a couple of times at the Connecticut casinos there, Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods. And for your weight class, you're pretty tall, you got a good reach, and you're a southpaw. Do you feel that really helps you set up that knockout punch? When you're utilizing your jab and you're able to land a knockout punch with your left that a lot of orthodox fighters have trouble seeing.
Yeah, I think it's sneaky, and I think it's hard to defend. You can train it in training camp, but unless you're sparring top-notch guys that fight just like me, really, then you're not going to know how to defend the shots that I throw with my left hand properly. My uppercuts, my body shots, head shots, like me even being able to set them up. Like some guys can't pick up on how I'm going to set them up. I'll throw to the head for 2 rounds, and then I'll go to the body the third round and get them out of there,
Yeah. If no one, if you had to describe yourself, your style to someone that never got to see you fight in any way, shape, or form, they never saw video, never saw you live, how would you describe your style yourself?
I'd say I'm a boxer, puncher, and I can really fight in any predicament. I can fight in the inside, I can fight from the outside. And I do both. Like, I don't just stick to one game plan and always fighting on the outside. And I also don't fight always all the time on the inside, but I go back and forth. And I would say lately it seems like I'm a body puncher to get guys out of there. I've been dropping a lot of guys with body shots.
That's great. Body shot. Listen, body shots. Well, listen, you're trained. I know you're working with a good team, so I'm sure they say the same thing. But body shots breaks down an opponent. They're hard to come back from. But
Yeah.
I got one last question for you. I know and your team definitely knows that a really good performance this weekend against Alate is going to open up some doors. I was talking about it earlier, how hot the middleweight division is, especially there's a lot of younger fighters like yourself that are right on the cusp, and a good win is definitely going to open those doors. Have you prepared any differently for this fight, because of that extra? Not only you got all your fans there on your shoulders, you got the weight of a good performance coming up that's going to open some doors. Have you trained any differently?
I mean, I train just as hard as I usually would, but I would say that I definitely worked, which most guys that aren't fighters or boxing knowledge guys wouldn't understand, but we train the basics a lot this training camp. Hands where they're supposed to be when you're throwing certain punches, and how your feet should be, where your head should be, like all that stuff. Moving my feet properly, moving around the ring, being able to control a guy, even when in a clinch, being able to control a guy with my feet, like we drilled that a lot this training camp. So I think that's going to be a huge factor in this fight. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. Hey, listen, do you think that you have any predictions of how the fight's going to go? Like, do you think I know you mentioned earlier you think you're going to eventually get him out of there, but do you have a prediction? You want to pull on Muhammad Ali and give me a round, or what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say
I've never asked anyone to do that before, so I really put you on the spot.
No. If I was going to give you a round, I'm definitely going to try to break this guy down. I know he is cagey, like you said, and he is tough. I'm going to break him down, and then I'm looking to get him out of there, hopefully by the 6th round at least.
6th round. All right.
And I'm definitely in shape for it. So,
well, that's 99% of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be, But anyway, listen. Good luck Saturday at the North Shore Music Theater in what is it, Beverly? How do you pronounce that? Beverly.
Yeah, Beverly. Yep. Beverly, Mass.
Yeah. Hey, I murder everything, so I didn't want to mess up the town where you're going to be in, but I'll be promoting where they can get tickets and stuff a little bit later. But I appreciate you coming on. I know it's real close to the fight. So after you win and defend this, you come back on and we'll have a more relaxed, so you won't have to worry about fighting 3 days from now.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good to me.
Right.
And anybody that is getting tickets that's listening to this, use code Hogan. Remember, use code Hogan, HOGAN. And follow me on Instagram.
It throws you a few extra bucks, or they get a discount? I mean,
absolutely. So it kind of gives me a little bit of credit and knows, so then my promoter knows that I sold more tickets and stuff like that. Just gives them a little bit more of an idea of that I got a bigger fan base.
Yeah, well, but, Jimmy knows his stuff. Jimmy knows his stuff, and he's a good man. He's a good man. Hey, part of the Birchfield stable. I mean, what did it feel like with Kevin Walsh's win coming back from Ireland?
Yeah, that was awesome. That was good for not only great for Kevin, but it was good for the team of CES, and it was good for the other fighters on the card. Showing that we do have some great fighters coming out of where we are, in New England especially, and to pull out a win over in Ireland and another guy's hometown is great.
Yeah, no, you hit it on the head, bro. I mean, it's real good for that whole team, everybody involved with CES, because and it's funny. I don't know if you watched it. I did, and they were saying, "Oh, it's these guys." He's saying Birchfield doing the Massachusetts circuit. They were making it seem like Kevin didn't have a shot, and he comes out with the win. I loved every minute of
it. Yeah, that makes it that much better, when everybody's hoping or not hoping, but kind of talking crap. I feel like everybody kind of nowadays, especially with the West Coast, all the fighters over there, I think everybody kind of undermines people coming out of Boston and Massachusetts. But right now, I think in the next 5 years, that's going to change.
So Travis, the What's Next Kid Smith, is asking you here in the chat room, do you have any words for your opponent?
I hope you're coming ready, and no, I'm ready, and I'm looking to take you out. I don't even want this to go to a decision. I want to get you out of there.
Well, a good performance is going to open some doors, trust me, and I'll look forward to having you back, all right?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem. I'll wish you luck. I'll be following it, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.
All right, no problem. That's Frank the Tank Hogan, and he's going to be fighting this Saturday at the North Shore Music Theater in Beverly, Mass. You can get yourself some tickets, cesboxing.com, and get some tickets. And remember what he said, use the code Hogan. That helps him out. Plus, it wakes Jimmy up if Jimmy doesn't think he can draw. But in any event, what I was saying before my man came on, Dalton Smith and Albert Perillo, they got their date. There was rumor that they were going to be fighting. June 6th is when they'll be fighting for that title, and it'll be on the Zone. Some other news I just want to mention real quick. The European Boxing Union has some purse bids in the middleweight division. That's why I wanted to mention it. From France, French Europrom. They won. They were the sole bidder for a French championship match between Bial Jiktu, who's 21-2, and the current EBU champ Michel Soro, who's 38-4. The date and time and location was going to be determined. So that's a more middleweight action. Okay, let's talk about the fights this weekend real quick. I'm going to mention the one fight before I get into my whole Moses Itauma thing. I made you wait all the way to the end. I'm sorry about that. But Sebastian Fundora is the WBC World Super Welterweight or Junior Middleweight World Champion, and he's stepping in the ring against Keith. He fights one time in 5 years, Thurman, former world champion. And that fight is going to be this weekend. Obviously, it's a PBC fight, so I will not be watching it live. I will watch it the following morning. I don't like to do anything with the PBC, what they did to this sport. But Sebastian Fundora, he's 23 wins, 1 loss. 15 of his wins coming by knockout. His 1 loss, he was stopped, and that was against Brian Mendoza. He was stopped via a knockout in the 7th round. It took place in April of 2023. The computer ranks Fundora at number 4. Like I said, he's the WBC champion, so he's not rated in any of the other sanctioning bodies. But both the Ring Magazine and the ESPN's rankings have him at number 2 in the world. He's a southpaw, and if you've never seen him, he's real tall. He's a junior middleweight, stands 6'5.5" in height. He's fought 139 rounds as a pro, which happens to be 36 less than Thurman. He possesses a 65% knockout ratio. He's going to have a huge height advantage, 7.5 inches. And he's going to have an 11-inch reach advantage. It's almost circus looking when I've seen the promos of these two guys with photos next to each other. Sebastian Fundori's got his last 7 fights were all against good opposition, and his record was 6-1. That loss against Mendoza was part of that. But he has wins over Sergio Garcia, Erickson Lubin, Carlos Ocampo, Tim Zhu twice, including the first fight, which was a total bloodbath. He also beat Cordell Booker. But that first fight in 2024, I mean, a bloodbath. I don't even know how you can possibly have let that fight continue. But tall, lanky, awkward fighter. He's got some pop. Now he steps in the ring with the former world champion in Keith Thurman. His record, 31 wins. 23 of those wins coming by knockout. His one loss was against Manny Pacquiao. He's an orthodox fighter, 37 years old right now, 9 years older than Sebastian Fundora. He's 5'9.5", 69-inch reach. I just told you the drastic advantages for both that Sebastian Fundora has. As a champion, well, right now the computer doesn't rank him because he hasn't, surprisingly enough, he hasn't fought in over a year. This is the knock on this guy. All right. At one time he was, in the conversation, he was a champion. And then all of a sudden he made all kinds of excuses and just did not fight. And he was, in my opinion, he just lost it. Currently he's not rated by the WBO, the IBF, or the WBA, or the Ring Magazine. However, the WBC miraculously has him at number 3. He's not ranked anywhere else except number 3 with the WBC. ESPN surprisingly has him ranked pretty high too at number 5. And the IBO's top 100, which is the computer ratings I prefer over BoxRec, is number 3. So, but it's hard not to rank him high when you go by the computer because of the level of his level of opposition. Because let's face it, he has wins over this was from 2015 through 2019. Robert Guerrero, Luis Collazo, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Josito Lopez, which incidentally both fights were very controversial. Both of those fights were very controversial because many people believe that not only did Danny Garcia beat him, but Josito Lopez as well. He lost to Pacquiao in 2019. He didn't fight again until 2022 when he got a win over Mario Barrios. Then he didn't fight again for another 3 years. He didn't fight till 2025, and that was his last fight against Brock Jarvis. He possessed some hand speed and everything else at one time. He's 37 years old. He never looked as good as he did prior to the Pacquiao fight. And then with all that time off, I just don't think that should even be in the conversation. Sebastian Fundora with a over 7-inch height advantage and an 11-inch reach advantage. He's learned, the one thing I will say about Sebastian Fundora is he's learned how to utilize that. When he first started out, he didn't utilize his height and hand speed because he likes to bang. This guy likes to get in there. He's finally learning a little more about distance, and he's also learning how to utilize that jab. And when you have that much of an advantage, 11 inches, almost a foot more with arm reach. The only thing that Keith Thurman's going to be able to do is charge him. And as long as Sebastian Fundora's lanky body doesn't fail him in terms of tripping over his own feet, this is going to be a boring, one-sided fight. And I wouldn't be surprised if Fundora eventually stops Thurman if he can make it where he's able to hit Thurman at will because of setting up a classic 1-2 with his long jab, following it with his left. This fight's going to end by stoppage. Sebastian Fundora is going to win. Okay, Moses Itauma, he's taking on Jermaine Franklin. Now, I told you the title of this show is he as good as people say? I every time I turn around, I see Moses Itauma. Oh, he's the future. Oh, he's the next thing. Jermaine Franklin is going to have to get by Moses Itauma. I mean, it almost seems like people are putting this guy in the Hall of Fame already. And trust me, he doesn't listen. Is he going to be a good fighter? Is he going to be part of the future of the sport of boxing's heavyweight division? Yes, I totally think he's gonna. Of course he's gonna. It's a layup. It's a trick question. But the dude isn't ready now. And if he was, he's calling out Usyk. I mean, he has no business calling out Usyk. Moses Itauma, 13-0 with 11 of his wins coming by knockout. But let's be real. Please, boys and girls, look at his record, because his best wins was his last fight against Dillian White in August of last year. He blew away Dillian White, who's like one of the most durable fighters. I mean, it was very fishy, to say the least, in my opinion. Aside from that, I mean, really no recognizable names. The other two big, wins versus losses names was Dempsey McKean, a 22-1 fighter, and Mike Balogun, who was a 21 and 1. All the rest of them were basically walking punching bags. He never has been challenged. Now, is he going to step in the ring and be challenged by Jermaine Franklin? I don't know. I'll get to that in a second. But my point is you can't possibly put Itauma on a pedestal until he has beaten a top guy. Now, by no means do I feel he needs to be rushed. I think that Jermaine Franklin is a good opponent for him right now. But then after that, he should not catapult into a title shot. He needs to fight someone else, like an Andy Ruiz Jr. would be a good fight for him. Somebody along those lines, or even the winner of the fight with what's his face, Miller. Miller's next fight. The winner of that fight. I don't know. The winner of that fight is probably going to get a world title shot. So all I'm saying is Moses Itauma has not proven anything to me, and even beating Jermaine Franklin, he's not going to prove anything. Jermaine Franklin is 32 years old, which is 11 years older than Itauma. He's got a record of 24 wins, 15 coming by knockout, and 2 losses. His only 2 losses, a majority decision loss to Dillian White, and that was in 2022. And then in 2023, Anthony Joshua took him the distance, but beat him. When you look at the rest of his resume, the 24 wins, he's got wins over okay opposition, but no big names. I mean, he beat Jerry Forrest, who most people have heard of, but the other wins by fighters that had decent records, Pave Sauer, Isaac Gutierrez, and Ivan Daicho. They all had records, but how many people really has ever seen them or heard of them fight? The computer ranks him at number 36. He's not ranked anywhere else, except, ironically enough, he's ranked at the WBO at number 10 and the WBA at number 10. I think these sanctioning bodies keep a guy like Jermaine Franklin around, ranked in their top 12, just in case they need to get a fighter, a W, or by a ranked fighter, even though that's not fair to say with Jermaine Franklin because he's only got 2 losses. My point is that when he steps up and fights the better fighters, he usually comes up on the losing end, like he did when he fought 2 better fighters, Anthony Joshua and Dillian White. He's got a 63% knockout ratio. 149 rounds as a pro is a lot more than Moses Itauma. He's 123 more. He's 6'3". So he's given up 1.5 inches, and his arm reach is 77 inches. He's given up 2 inches there. Now he steps in with Moses Itauma. Moses Itauma is a fighter that I believe will be in the conversation. Like I said before, he's 13-0 with 11 of his wins coming by knockout. The computer has him at number 15. The WBO, WBA both have him at number 1. The WBC has him at number 3. The IBF has him at number 11. When they're ranked in all the sanctioning bodies, you know what that means? That he could fight for any one of those titles, and they would approve him. Except for maybe the IBF because he's ranked below number 10. But Ring has him at 7. ESPN has him at 8, which shocks the hell out of me. I mean, because of what I just said, a win over Dillian White catapults him to being ranked, in the top 10 anywhere. I just don't see it. Anyway, it aggravates me. He's a southpaw. And he's got pop. There's no question about it. He's only 21 years old. He's got an 85% knockout ratio, 6'4.5", 79-inch reach. His best wins, like I said, Dillian White, aside from that, nothing. How's the fight going to go? Well, Moses Itauma is going to win the fight. He's going to win the fight. It's going to be interesting to see how he wins the fight. I would not be surprised. Franklin's not known for knocking people out, and he certainly hasn't fought, and beat top-notch opposition. But we'll get a good idea about Itauma. And what I mean by that is Itauma is going to come out and treat Franklin the way he has with all of his other opponents, including Dillian White, which was shocking, with no respect, and try and end it in one. I think if Franklin can get him into some of the later rounds, we may see something in Itauma that we haven't gotten to see before. I mean, he did go to distance a couple of times, but now that he's being catapulted into the Hall of Fame, we'll see what happens. Either way, I'm picking Itauma in the fight. How many times have I said the Charlo brothers are frauds? I mean, really, how many times? A lot, right? Well, Jamal Charlo was all set and approved to fight Armando Resendez for the WBA super middleweight title in May. He pulled out. And the WBA has replaced him with Jaime Munguia. It's pretty sad, these Charlo brothers. And, that fight was confirmed to be on the Ramirez Benavidez undercard. So we'll see what happens with that. Resendez is a good fighter, 27 years old only. And he'll be taking on Munguia, who's also young, but he seems like he's been around forever. 45-2 he is now in that one. Finally, I'll just mention that one last time, CES Boxing, they have the North Shore Knockout taking place this weekend at the North Shore Music Theater in Massachusetts. Make sure you get yourself some tickets and use the code Hogan. It's CES Fights. I said CES Boxing before, but you can get tickets at CESfights.com. And listen, support my man Hogan and Frank the Tank Hogan. And also, don't forget, Amelia Moore is the co-main event on that card. And you guys know we love Amelia Moore, and she's fighting for her first title on that card as well. Okay, boys and girls, thanks for stopping by. Make sure you tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this.